widow named Emma Elizabeth Smith, aged 45, of Spitalfields, was returning home late on Easter Monday, and when in Whitechapel Road, she was set up upon and brutally maltreated by some men, at present unknown. She was taken to the London hospital, where she died Thursday morning from injuries received. Maybe some of you spotted where this is going already by the mention of Whitechapel Road. For those who aren't familiar with the reference, you probably already came to the assumption that nobody was ever brought to justice for this crime. And while that alone is enough for finding these old articles creepy, what makes this one stand out especially is that it was eventually thought that maybe only one person did this to Ms. Smith. In fact, Emma Elizabeth Smith is believed to potentially be the first victim of Jack the Ripper. Even though several modern historians now dispute this, either way, justice was never served. A Strangler Abroad. Similarity in methods of recent girl murders. The strangling of Mary Cunningham has aroused the detectives of the country to action. Some of the crimes of the fiend recalled. The murder of Mary Cunningham, who was found strangled in her mother's home in New York some weeks ago, has taken its place among the foul crimes of the past, and according to the probabilities of human events, its mystery will never be solved. It is a sad list, this category of dark deeds and fiendish crimes, whose perpetrators have gone unpunished, and it offers endless food for serious reflection. As you glance over the series of unsolved crimes, which extends back for a period of 2 years and culminates in the death of Mary Cunningham, you find there deeds of various degrees of horror, ranging from burglary and theft to bloody murder and arson, and spreading over the land from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Upon more careful scrutiny, however, it is found that a few of these mysterious crimes possess certain attributes in common. The longer you look at them, the more startling this resemblance becomes, until almost unconsciously you find that a number of these crimes have assumed striking prominence before your eyes and stand out boldly among the rest. These crimes resemble one another most forcibly in this respect. The victim of each was a woman who had been strangled to death. And as you contemplate the gruesome array, the conviction forces itself upon you that the murder of the Cunningham girl was but a last link in a chain of similar crimes, indissolubly connected one with the other by the same details, the same methods, the same apparent lack of motive, and, with but few exceptions, the character of the victim. Were all these crimes perpetrated by the same hand? Minnie Welt strangled in New York, May 30th, 1894. Josie Bennett strangled in Buffalo, June 30th, 1894. Mary Eckhart strangled in Cincinnati, July 25th, 1894. Lena Tupper strangled in Denver, September 27th, 1894. Marie Contasso strangled in Denver, October 28th, 1894. Kiku Oyama strangled in Denver, November 13th, 1894. Jesse Williams strangled in San Francisco, December 22nd, 1895. Marie McDermott strangled in San Francisco, February 24th, 1896. Bertha Paradis strangled in San Francisco, March 10th, 1896. These have since been supplemented by the strangling of a woman in Boston and the death of Mary Cunningham in New York. The list, as you see, is well-rounded. The first crime was committed on Decoration Day, 1894. The last on Decoration Day, 1896. When will the next take place? At a minimum, the details occurring in this article were committed by at least 2 separate killers. Alfred Knapp, for example, had been executed by the electric chair for killing Mary Eckhart, among other victims, and he was known as the Hamilton Strangler. However, some of the other people listed in this article were likely victims of the Denver Strangler, a serial killer that remains unidentified to this very day. Thousands flocking to banner of new prophet, who is said to aim at uprising that will unite all Germany. Germany is undergoing a process of intense unrest and fermentation. The old order of things has been done away with, and the paradise promised by socialism as the fruit of the revolution has been weighed and found sadly wanting. In Bavaria, a new prophet has risen and preaches a faith which fires thousands with enthusiasm and new hope. Who is this man, Adolf Hitler, who sways the masses with his magnetic and dominating personality? Which new crusade does he preach with such fervor that men of varied education and political creeds can unite under his red flag with the Aryan swastika? Despite being long dead, Hitler is still one of the most recognized names. It's strange to look back at a time when people didn't know who he was. What's even more chilling is that there's no way the world back then could have even imagined the evil that he'd unleash upon it and the damage that'd linger for generations. Police seek 4-year-old boy. Portland child disappears from schoolyard. Police and bloodhounds searched Monday for a 4-year-old boy who disappeared while playing with his older brother at a schoolyard Sunday. Lee Joseph Isley of Portland disappeared around 1 p.m. If he stayed outdoors Sunday night, he had to withstand temperatures that were a few degrees above freezing. He's not a bad kid, but he does get into trouble sometimes, the boy's father, Robert Isley, said Monday. He's the kind of kid who doesn't take off, but he can get sidetracked easily. Although the child's parents are divorced, police said they interviewed the mother Monday and came away convinced that the disappearance did not involve a custody fight. 4-year-olds don't run away, Detective David Simpson, a spokesman for the Portland Police Bureau, said. We're getting very concerned, especially as time goes on. Lee disappeared while playing with his 9-year-old brother, Justin, at Richmond School in southeast Portland. Lee was playing on a concrete and rock climbing mound called the Volcano when Justin looked up and saw him talking to a man. Justin was very concerned about him talking to strangers, Robert Isley said. So the older boy went over and warned his brother not to talk to strangers and to yell if the man did anything. Justin said when he next looked toward the rock mound, Lee was gone. Justin went home and about 1 p.m. told his father that Lee was lost. Police searched the boy's southeast Portland neighborhood Sunday night and brought in bloodhounds in an effort to pick up his scent. Dogs zeroed in on the scent at the playground, but lost it at the curb, suggesting to a dog handler that the child may have gotten into a car. Shortly after noon Monday, the bloodhounds returned to the Isley home, were given Lee's clothes to smell, and went back to the school to try to pick up the scent. Police spoke Sunday to clerks at a southeast Portland grocery store where several employees remembered seeing the boy after 1 p.m. Lee was in the store wandering the aisles alone, Simpson said. Because he was seen alone in the store after the reported contact with the man at the school, Simpson said police consider it likely that the boy wandered away from the playground on his own. Alas, everyone's biggest fear came true. But Lee dying wasn't even the worst of it. How the boy met his end is too disturbing and, even more unfortunate, too long to go into detail here. But it was revealed that Lee was a victim of Wesley Allen Dodd, a serial killer whose crimes were so horrendous even Dodd himself requested to be hanged. While Dodd ended up being very cooperative and accepted full responsibility for his actions, never once asking for mercy, he was incredibly forthcoming about his crimes, as if confessing them to investigators or during his trial or to the media helped him relive the experience. Dodd had such an exact attention to detail that his journal entry of what he did to Lee demonstrates that his 1993 execution on the gallows of Walla Walla, Washington was compassionate by comparison. Remember, Lee wasn't Dodd's only victim. Knowing all of this just makes rereading this article even more depressing and horrifying. Lake Forest Park man has Santa's looks and heart. He's delighted to play the part. Ronald McDonald is getting used to the stares. For almost a decade, since his hair turned white, the Lake Forest Park man has been getting double takes from children and adults stunned by the Santa Claus lookalike. It's no wonder, with curly white whiskers, wire-framed spectacles, and suspenders over his, natural padding, McDonald, 66, is a dead ringer for the North Pole's most famous resident. Even in July, I see kids tug on their parents' coats and say, "Mom, Dad, look, it's Santa Claus," said Lake Forest Park Town Center Mall employee Shauna Millward. The article would go on to detail how McDonald came to play the role of Santa, and that he'd visit hospitals all year around so that sick children could experience the joy of Christmas, regardless of what month it was. However, 5 years later, McDonald would be outed as an abuser, having committed decades worth of crimes against children. What makes this 1992 article haunting isn't the secrets underneath, but some obvious hints that McDonald was obsessed with being around children. Specifically, as a volunteer and later a foster parent to a disabled boy, McDonald spent countless hours in the Seattle Hospital's neonatal intensive care unit and other pediatric wards, caring for sick youngsters. And if McDonald's face is familiar to them, their faces are even more familiar to him. Dozens of sketches he has drawn of youngsters hospitalized at University Hospital and Children's Hospital and Medical Center adorn the McDonald's home. One of his drawings was on a Christmas card cover for Children's Hospital. Other drawings featured prominently on the walls at the McDonald's home are of the 8 children they babysit 4 days a week.